Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." These words, spoken by one of history's greatest Stoic philosophers, hold a timeless truth. True presence and authority come not from external validation, but from unwavering self-mastery. In a world filled with distractions and chaos, the principles of Stoicism offer a roadmap to cultivating a commanding presence, one that demands respect, inspires confidence, and radiates calm in any situation. Today, we're diving into 38 uncompromising Stoic principles that can transform not just how others see you, but how you see yourself. From mastering your emotions to projecting unshakable confidence, these principles are as relevant now as they were 2,000 years ago. So, what would it take to command respect and authority effortlessly? Let's explore how Stoicism can help you unlock that power within. At the heart of Stoicism lies a simple yet profound truth. Mastering your emotions is the cornerstone of a commanding presence. Think about it. How can you lead others, inspire confidence, or handle life's challenges with grace if your emotions are steering the ship? Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, often reflected on this in his private writings, reminding himself that external events don't define us. It's our reactions to them that shape our character. He wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." In other words, what you focus on and how you respond emotionally determines the quality of your life and the impression you leave on others. Seneca, another giant of Stoic philosophy, put it bluntly, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." How many times have you felt overwhelmed by anger, frustration, or fear, only to realize later that the situation wasn't as dire as it seemed? Emotional mastery isn't about suppressing your feelings, it's about understanding them, stepping back, and choosing a response that aligns with your values and goals. For instance, imagine you're in a high-pressure meeting and someone criticizes your work unfairly. The immediate urge might be to lash out defensively, but what if instead you paused, took a deep breath, and responded with calm clarity? That shift not only diffuses tension but also projects strength and self-control. Now, take a moment to reflect on your own life. Can you recall a recent situation where your emotions got the better of you? What if you had approached it with the mindset of a Stoic, calm, deliberate, and focused on what truly matters? Emotional mastery isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Every time you choose to respond rather than react, you're building the foundation of a presence that commands respect and inspires trust. What separates those who thrive from those who falter under pressure? The answer lies in a fundamental Stoic principle, focusing on what you can control. Epictetus, one of the most influential Stoic teachers, put it simply, "Some things are within our power while others are not." This dichotomy of control is at the core of Stoic philosophy, and it's a game changer for anyone looking to build a commanding presence. Think about it. How much time and energy do we waste worrying about things outside our control? The weather, other people's opinions, or even the outcome of a project at work. These external factors can feel overwhelming, but the Stoics remind us that true power lies in directing our attention to what we can influence, our thoughts, actions, and reactions. Imagine you're faced with a tight deadline at work and your team isn't meeting expectations. Instead of stressing over their performance, focus on what you can do, whether it's organizing your tasks, communicating clearly, or staying composed under pressure. That shift in focus not only reduces anxiety but also demonstrates leadership and poise. This principle isn't just about avoiding distractions, it's about reclaiming your agency. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, you free up mental space to act decisively and confidently. For instance, consider a professional athlete. They can't control the referee's calls or the weather conditions, but they can control their training, mindset, and effort. By zeroing in on what's within their power, they perform at their best, no matter the circumstances. So take a moment to reflect on your own life. What's one thing you can control right now? Maybe it's your attitude toward a challenging situation, or perhaps it's how you prepare for an upcoming opportunity. By identifying and acting on what's within your control, you not only build resilience but also project a presence that's grounded and dependable. The Stoics knew this secret centuries ago, and it's just as powerful today because when you focus on what you can control, you unlock a strength that's unshakable. Now, let's shift our focus to a principle that might seem counterintuitive in today's noisy world: cultivating inner silence. In a culture that glorifies constant activity and endless chatter, the Stoics understood the profound power of stillness. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." This isn't just poetic wisdom, it's a practical tool for building a commanding presence. Inner silence isn't about escaping the world. It's about creating a space within yourself where clarity and strength can flourish. Think about the last time you felt overwhelmed. Maybe it was a flood of emails, a heated argument, or a barrage of decisions demanding your attention. In those moments, the noise isn't just external, it's internal. Your thoughts race, your emotions churn, and before you know it, you're reacting instead of responding. The Stoics believed that by quieting the mind, we gain the ability to see things as they truly are, free from the distortions of fear, anger, or haste. This inner stillness becomes a source of unshakable strength, allowing you to navigate chaos with poise and purpose. Consider the example of a great leader like Nelson Mandela. During his 27 years in prison, Mandela faced unimaginable challenges. Yet he often spoke of the importance of stillness and reflection. By cultivating inner silence, he maintained his composure, clarity, and resolve, even in the face of immense adversity. His ability to remain calm and deliberate not only inspired those around him, but also played a crucial role in shaping his legacy. So, how can you start cultivating this inner silence? Begin with just 5 minutes a day. Find a quiet space, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. Let the thoughts come and go without judgment. It's not about emptying your mind, but creating a moment of pause, a chance to reconnect with yourself. Over time, you'll notice how this practice sharpens your focus, deepens your resilience, and enhances your ability to lead with calm authority. Inner silence isn't a luxury. It's a necessity for anyone striving to build a presence that commands respect and inspires confidence. Success is not in the result but in the effort. This bold statement lies at the heart of Stoic detachment, a principle that teaches us to focus on what we put into a task rather than what we get out of it. The Stoics believed that attaching too much importance to outcomes could lead to frustration, anxiety, and a loss of inner peace. Instead, they urged us to pour our energy into the process, the actions we take, and the values we uphold. As Seneca wisely observed, it is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult. In other words, the true measure of success lies in the courage to act, not in the guarantee of a specific result. Consider the mindset of a professional athlete. Imagine a marathon runner who trains relentlessly, pushing their limits day after day. On race day, they give it their all, but the outcome, whether they win, place, or even finish, is never guaranteed. A Stoic athlete understands this. They know that their worth isn't tied to the medal or the applause, but to the discipline, effort, and resilience they've shown throughout their journey. By detaching from the outcome, they free themselves from the pressure of perfection and perform with clarity and focus, no matter what happens. Now, think about your own life. How often do you find yourself fixated on a specific result, a promotion, a relationship, or even a personal goal? What happens when things don't go as planned? Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring or striving. It means you shift your focus to what you can control, your effort, your attitude, and your commitment to growth. For example, if you've worked hard on a project at work but it doesn't get the recognition you hoped for, detachment allows you to take pride in the effort you put in rather than dwelling on the disappointment. So take a moment to reflect. How do you handle failure or unmet expectations? Do you let them define you, or do you see them as opportunities to learn and grow? Practicing Stoic detachment isn't about abandoning ambition. It's about embracing a mindset that values effort over outcome, resilience over reward, and inner peace over external validation. When you detach from the need for a specific result, you unlock a level of freedom and composure that makes you unstoppable, no matter what life throws your way. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus faced a life that seemed anything but fortunate. Born into slavery, he endured physical hardship and limitations that would have broken many. Yet, rather than succumbing to bitterness, he transformed his adversity into a source of profound wisdom. He famously said, "What stands in the way becomes the way." This mindset, embracing challenges as opportunities, is at the heart of the Stoic principle of amor fati, or loving one's fate. It's not about passively accepting hardship, but actively finding value and growth within it. Take, for example, the story of Thomas Edison. When his laboratory burned down in a devastating fire, destroying years of work, he reportedly said, "All our mistakes are burned up. Now we can start again fresh." Instead of seeing the fire as a catastrophic loss, Edison saw it as a chance to rebuild and improve. This is the essence of amor fati, recognizing that every setback, every obstacle carries within it the seeds of opportunity. It's a shift in perspective that transforms adversity into a teacher, guiding us toward resilience and strength. In our own lives, this principle can be a game changer. Think about a recent challenge you faced, maybe a missed opportunity, a personal failure, or an unexpected setback. What if, instead of viewing it as a roadblock, you saw it as a stepping stone? The Stoics believed that challenges are not random misfortunes but deliberate tests of character. As Epictetus put it, difficulties show what men are. When you face adversity with courage and curiosity, you not only grow stronger but also project a presence that's unshakable and inspiring. Consider the story of J.K. Rowling, who faced rejection after rejection before her first Harry Potter book was published. At one point, she was a single mother on welfare, struggling to make ends meet. Yet, she later described that period as a time of profound clarity and determination. She used her struggles as fuel to create something extraordinary, ultimately reshaping an entire generation's imagination. Her story reminds us that adversity isn't the end of the road. It's often the beginning of something far greater. So, what's a challenge you're facing right now? Could it be an opportunity in disguise? Perhaps it's a chance to develop patience, resilience, or a new skill. By embracing amor fati, you not only reframe your struggles but also cultivate a presence that radiates confidence and purpose. After all, the way we respond to adversity reveals who we truly are and who we're capable of becoming. How often do your words truly carry weight? In a world where everyone seems to be talking, the Stoics understood the immense power of speaking with purpose. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Let your speech be both brief and full of meaning." This isn't just a call for brevity, it's a reminder that every word we choose has the potential to influence, inspire, or even alter the course of events. The Stoics believed that communication should be intentional, a reflection of our values and priorities, rather than a reaction to the noise around us. Take the example of Abraham Lincoln, a leader known for his ability to convey profound ideas in just a few words. His Gettysburg Address, one of the most famous speeches in history, lasted only 2 minutes yet captured the essence of a nation's struggle and hope. Lincoln didn't need to fill the air with endless words. He chose each one carefully, ensuring they resonated deeply with his audience. This is the mark of a commanding presence, someone who speaks not to be heard but to be understood. Now think about your own communication habits. Do you find yourself speaking impulsively, or do you take a moment to consider the impact of your words? The Stoics would argue that every conversation is an opportunity to practice self-discipline. Before you speak, ask yourself, is this necessary? Is it true? Is it kind? By aligning your words with these principles, you not only project confidence and clarity, but also build trust and respect in your relationships. Imagine you're in a heated discussion at work or at home. The temptation might be to respond quickly, to defend your position or prove your point. But what if instead you paused, took a breath, and chose your words deliberately? That moment of restraint can transform a potential conflict into a meaningful exchange. It's not about winning the argument, it's about fostering understanding and connection. So the next time you're about to speak, ask yourself, does this add value? Am I contributing something meaningful, or am I simply adding to the noise? When you speak with purpose, you elevate not only your presence but also the quality of your interactions. In a world filled with empty words, the ability to communicate thoughtfully is a rare and powerful gift, one that can set you apart as a leader, a friend, and a person of true influence. Integrity is the cornerstone of a commanding presence. The Stoics understood that true strength doesn't come from titles, wealth, or outward appearances. It comes from living in alignment with your deepest values. Epictetus, the former slave-turned-Stoic teacher, put it simply: first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. In other words, integrity isn't just about what you believe, it's about how you act even when no one is watching. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your actions match your words, your choices reflect your principles, and your life is built on a foundation of honesty and authenticity. Think about the leaders you admire most. Chances are their integrity is what sets them apart. Take someone like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the late Supreme Court Justice. Throughout her career, she was known not just for her brilliance but for her unwavering commitment to justice and equality. She didn't just talk about fairness, she lived it, even when it meant standing alone against powerful opposition. Her integrity wasn't a performance, it was a way of being, and it earned her the respect and admiration of millions. That's the kind of presence integrity creates, one that inspires trust and commands respect, not through force but through consistency and sincerity. Now consider your own life. Are there moments when you've compromised your values for convenience or approval? Maybe it was a small lie to avoid conflict, or a decision that felt right at the time but left you uneasy later. The Stoics would challenge you to reflect on those moments, not with guilt but with curiosity. What do they reveal about your priorities, and how might aligning your actions more closely with your values change the way you see yourself and how others see you? Living with integrity isn't always easy. It requires courage to stand by your principles, especially when the stakes are high or the pressure is intense. But the rewards are profound. When you act with integrity, you build a presence that's grounded and unshakable. People notice. They may not always agree with you, but they'll respect you for staying true to yourself. And that respect, earned through consistency and authenticity, is the foundation of true influence. So, the next time you're faced with a choice, big or small, ask yourself, does this align with who I am and who I want to be? The answer might just shape not only your actions but the legacy you leave behind. The ancient Stoics were no strangers to hardship. In fact, they actively sought it out, training their minds and bodies to endure challenges as a way of building resilience. Think of the Roman soldiers who practiced stoicism. They didn't wait for battles to test their strength. They prepared relentlessly, knowing that discipline in times of peace would carry them through times of war. As Seneca famously said, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. This wasn't just a philosophical idea, it was a way of life. The Stoics believed that discipline wasn't about punishment or restriction. It was about cultivating the mental and emotional toughness needed to face life's inevitable storms. Discipline, in the Stoic sense, is the bridge between intention and action. It's what allows you to follow through on your commitments, even when it's uncomfortable or inconvenient. Consider the story of David Goggins, a former Navy SEAL and ultramarathon runner. Goggins grew up facing immense adversity, poverty, abuse, and self-doubt. But through relentless discipline, he transformed himself into one of the toughest endurance athletes in the world. He didn't wait for motivation to strike. He created it through daily, unwavering effort. His story is a modern testament to the Stoic idea that discipline isn't just about achieving goals, it's about forging an unbreakable spirit. Now, let's bring this closer to home. Think about your own life. Where do you feel the pull of procrastination or the temptation to take the easy path? Maybe it's in your fitness routine, your work habits, or even your relationships. The Stoics would challenge you to see these moments not as obstacles but as opportunities to build resilience. Start small. Identify one area where you can practice greater discipline, whether it's waking up 30 minutes earlier, dedicating time to a skill you've been neglecting, or simply committing to a daily practice of reflection. The key isn't to overhaul your life overnight, but to take consistent, intentional steps toward growth. Discipline, when practiced consistently, becomes a source of strength. It's not just about enduring hardship, it's about transforming it into a tool for growth. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're not just building resilience, you're shaping a presence that radiates determination and purpose. So, where will you start? What's one small act of discipline you can commit to today? Remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. And with each step forward, you're not just strengthening your resolve, you're becoming the kind of person who can face any challenge with calm, clarity, and confidence. Picture this, you're leading a high-stakes project at work, and with just hours before the deadline, a critical team member drops out. The pressure is mounting, the stakes are high, and everyone is looking to you for direction. In moments like these, how you respond can define not just the outcome, but also how others perceive your leadership. This is where the Stoic principle of maintaining composure under pressure becomes invaluable. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, once wrote, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." For the Stoics, composure wasn't just a trait, it was a skill honed through deliberate practice and mental discipline. The Stoics believed that life would inevitably throw chaos our way, but our power lies in how we meet it. They trained themselves to remain steady, not by avoiding stress but by embracing it as an opportunity to grow. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled during a time of war and political upheaval, often reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. This mindset allowed him to lead with clarity and purpose, even in the face of immense challenges. Consider the example of Ernest Shackleton, the polar explorer whose ship became trapped in ice during an Antarctic expedition. Facing near-certain disaster, Shackleton didn't panic. Instead, he maintained his composure, inspiring his crew to endure months of hardship and eventually find their way to safety. His ability to stay calm under pressure wasn't just a personal trait, it was a lifeline for his entire team. In the same way, when we remain composed in difficult situations, we not only navigate challenges more effectively, but also inspire confidence in those around us. So, how do you handle stress when it feels like the walls are closing in? Do you react impulsively, or do you pause, breathe, and respond with intention? The Stoics would encourage you to see pressure not as a threat but as a test, an opportunity to practice resilience and demonstrate your strength. Next time you're faced with a high-stakes situation, try this simple exercise. Take a deep breath, remind yourself of what's within your control, and focus on one step at a time. By maintaining your composure, you're not just solving the problem at hand, you're building a presence that radiates calm authority, no matter how turbulent the circumstances. What kind of leader do you aspire to be? The Stoics believed that leadership isn't about titles or authority. It's about embodying the values you wish to see in others. Epictetus, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, put it this way: if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. At first glance, this might seem counterintuitive. Why would anyone want to be thought of as foolish? But the deeper meaning is profound. True leadership isn't about seeking approval or admiration. It's about staying true to your principles even when it's uncomfortable or unpopular. It's about leading by example, not by words alone. The Stoics understood that actions speak louder than words. If you want to inspire courage in others, you must first demonstrate it yourself. If you value integrity, you must live it unwaveringly. This isn't just theory, it's a practice that has shaped some of history's most respected leaders. Take Nelson Mandela, for instance. During his years of imprisonment, he didn't just talk about equality and reconciliation. He embodied those values in every interaction, even with his captors. His actions, more than his words, became a blueprint for a nation's healing and progress. Mandela's leadership wasn't about commanding obedience, it was about inspiring change through the power of example. Now think about your own life. Whether you're a manager, a parent, a teacher, or a friend, your actions are constantly influencing those around you. How do you handle stress? How do you treat people when no one is watching? These moments, often unnoticed, are where true leadership is forged. The Stoics would challenge you to ask yourself, are my actions aligned with the values I want to promote? Am I setting an example that others can follow with pride? Consider this: the next time you're faced with a difficult decision, ask yourself not just what's easiest or most convenient, but what's right. How you respond in those moments, whether with patience, honesty, or courage, will ripple out into the lives of those around you. Leading by example isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. It's about showing up day after day as the kind of person who inspires others to be their best. And when you do that, you're not just leading, you're leaving a legacy of strength, integrity, and purpose. Imagine waking up each morning not with a list of worries, but with a quiet appreciation for what you already have. This is the transformative power of gratitude, a practice the Stoics held in the highest regard. They believed that gratitude wasn't just a fleeting feeling. It was a deliberate act of focusing on the abundance in our lives, even in the face of hardship. As Seneca wrote, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. These words remind us that true wealth isn't measured by possessions, but by our ability to recognize and cherish what we already possess. The Stoics understood that gratitude is a tool for maintaining perspective. In a world that constantly pushes us to want more, to achieve more, and to compare ourselves to others, gratitude anchors us in the present moment. It shifts our focus from what's missing to what's already here, whether it's the support of loved ones, the beauty of nature, or even the simple gift of another day. Marcus Aurelius, for all his power as a Roman emperor, made it a habit to reflect on the people and opportunities that enriched his life. He saw gratitude not as a passive emotion but as an active practice, one that could transform even the most challenging circumstances. Consider the story of Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor who found meaning amidst unimaginable suffering. In the darkest moments of his life, Frankl chose to focus on the small acts of kindness he witnessed, the fleeting moments of beauty, and the enduring hope that kept him going. His ability to practice gratitude, even in the face of despair, not only helped him survive but also inspired millions through his writings. Frankl's life is a testament to the Stoic belief that gratitude isn't about ignoring pain, it's about finding light within it. So, what about you? What are 3 things you're grateful for today? It could be as simple as a warm cup of coffee, a kind word from a friend, or the chance to pursue a passion. Take a moment to reflect on these gifts, no matter how small they may seem. Gratitude isn't just about feeling good, it's about cultivating a mindset that allows you to see the richness of your life, even when challenges arise. When you practice gratitude daily, you're not just changing your outlook, you're building a foundation of resilience and contentment that can carry you through anything. What clutter is holding you back? In a world filled with endless distractions, possessions, and commitments, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. The Stoics, however, saw simplicity as a path to freedom. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Discard everything that doesn't serve a purpose or bring you joy. The fewer things you own, the fewer distractions you have." This isn't just about physical possessions. It's about clearing away the mental and emotional noise that keeps us from living with focus and intention. The Stoic philosophy of minimalism isn't about deprivation. It's about creating space for what truly matters. Think about Steve Jobs, the visionary behind Apple. Known for his relentless focus and innovative thinking, Jobs famously embraced simplicity in both his personal and professional life. He wore the same black turtleneck and jeans every day, not because he lacked options, but because he wanted to eliminate unnecessary decisions. This minimalist approach allowed him to channel his energy into what he cared about most, creating groundbreaking technology. Jobs understood that by simplifying his life, he could amplify his creativity and impact. His story is a modern echo of the Stoic belief that less can truly be more. Now consider your own life. What distractions are pulling you away from your goals? Maybe it's a cluttered workspace, a calendar filled with obligations you don't truly care about, or even a mind crowded with worries and to-do lists. The Stoics would challenge you to take a step back and ask, what can I let go of? What's truly essential? Simplifying your life isn't about giving up everything. It's about identifying what adds value and removing what doesn't. This act of decluttering, whether physical or mental, creates room for clarity, focus, and purpose. Start small. Choose one area of your life to simplify, whether it's your schedule, your belongings, or even your digital habits. Commit to removing one thing that no longer serves you, and notice how it feels to create space for what truly matters. The Stoics knew that by stripping away the unnecessary, we uncover our true priorities and unlock a sense of calm and control. So, what's one thing you can let go of today? The answer might just be the key to a simpler, more intentional life, one where you're free to focus on what truly matters. Presence is power. In a world that's constantly pulling us in a dozen directions, the ability to be fully present right here, right now, is a rare and commanding quality. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, urged his students to remember that attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity. What he meant was this: when you give someone your full attention, you're not just listening, you're showing them respect, creating connection, and demonstrating a level of focus that speaks volumes about your character. Presence isn't just about being physically in the room, it's about showing up mentally and emotionally too. Think about the people who command attention effortlessly. It's not because they're the loudest or most charismatic in the room, it's because they're fully there. They're not distracted by their phones, their to-do lists, or their internal chatter. They're present, and that presence creates a magnetic energy. Take, for example, the legendary basketball coach Phil Jackson, known for his ability to lead teams to multiple championships. Jackson was famous for his mindfulness practices, teaching his players to focus on the moment, whether they were on the court or off. His presence wasn't just about winning games, it was about fostering a culture of focus and unity. And that's what made him not just a great coach, but a transformative leader. Now, let's bring this closer to home. How often do you find yourself halfway through a conversation, only to realize you've been mentally elsewhere? Maybe you're thinking about what to say next, or your mind is already racing to the next task on your list. The Stoics would challenge you to see these moments as opportunities to practice presence. Being fully engaged in a conversation isn't just about making the other person feel heard. It's about cultivating a mindset that values the here and now. When you're present, you're not just listening, you're building trust, understanding, and connection. So here's a challenge for you. In your next conversation, try this simple exercise. Put away your phone, silence your inner distractions, and focus entirely on the person in front of you. Notice their tone, their body language, and the meaning behind their words. You'll be amazed at how this small shift can transform not just the interaction, but the way others perceive you. Presence isn't something you're born with, it's a skill honed through practice. And when you master it, you'll find that it's one of the most powerful tools you have for building a commanding presence in every area of your life. Throughout history, the Stoics have reminded us that change is the only constant. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote, "Everything is ephemeral, both that which remembers and that which is remembered." These words, penned nearly 2,000 years ago, still resonate today. The Stoics understood that clinging to what is fleeting, whether it's a moment of success, a relationship, or even life itself, only leads to suffering. Instead, they taught us to embrace impermanence, to see it not as a threat but as a natural part of existence. This principle, when fully understood, becomes a powerful tool for building resilience and maintaining a commanding presence in the face of life's inevitable shift. Consider the story of Maya Angelou, the celebrated poet and civil rights activist. Her life was marked by profound change, from her early years of trauma and displacement to her rise as one of the most influential voices of her time. Yet Angelou didn't resist these changes. She embraced them, using each transition as an opportunity to grow and reinvent herself. She once said, "If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude." This Stoic-like wisdom allowed her to navigate life's uncertainties with grace and strength, leaving a legacy that continues to inspire millions. Her ability to accept impermanence wasn't just a survival tactic, it was a source of her enduring influence. So, how do you handle change? Do you resist it, clinging to what's familiar, or do you see it as a chance to evolve? The Stoics would argue that resilience isn't about avoiding change, but about learning to flow with it. Think about a recent transition in your own life, perhaps a new job, a move, or even the end of a relationship. How did you respond? Did you fight the shift, or did you find a way to adapt and grow? By accepting impermanence, you're not just preparing yourself for life's challenges, you're cultivating a presence that remains steady and confident, no matter what comes your way. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that even the most solid aspects of life, wealth, status, relationships, are temporary. He wrote, "Time is a river, a violent current of events, glimpsed once and already carried past us." This perspective isn't meant to make us pessimistic, but to free us from the illusion of permanence. When we accept that everything changes, we stop wasting energy trying to control the uncontrollable. Instead, we focus on what we can control: our thoughts, our actions, and our attitude toward life's ebb and flow. Take a moment to reflect on this principle in your own life. What's one thing you've been clinging to, a fear, a habit, or even a belief that might be holding you back? What if, instead of resisting change, you welcomed it as an opportunity to grow? By embracing impermanence, you're not just building resilience, you're unlocking a deeper sense of peace and purpose. And in doing so, you're creating a presence that's not only commanding but also deeply grounded in the truth of life's ever-changing nature. What does true strength look like? If you're picturing someone loud, domineering, or always in the spotlight, you might be surprised. The Stoics had a different take. For them, real strength wasn't about puffing yourself up. It was about grounding yourself in humility. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most profound voices, warned against the dangers of arrogance, saying, "The higher a man rises, the more he should restrain his pride." Why? Because arrogance blinds us to our flaws, isolates us from others, and ultimately weakens our ability to lead and connect. True strength, as the Stoics saw it, comes from knowing your limits, acknowledging your imperfections, and treating others with respect, no matter your position or power. Think about the leaders who have left the most lasting impact. Chances are they weren't the ones who demanded attention or flaunted their authority. They were the ones who listened more than they spoke, who valued collaboration over control, and who led with quiet confidence rather than bluster. Take someone like Howard Schultz, the former CEO of Starbucks. Despite building one of the most recognizable brands in the world, Schultz remained deeply committed to humility. He often worked behind the counter in his own stores, not for show, but to stay connected to his employees and customers. That humility wasn't a weakness, it was a source of his strength, earning him loyalty and respect at every level of his organization. Now let's bring this closer to home. How does humility show up in your own life? Do you approach conversations as opportunities to learn, or do you feel the need to prove yourself? The Stoics believed that humility isn't about diminishing yourself. It's about recognizing that you're part of something larger. It's about understanding that no matter how much you achieve, there's always more to learn, more to give, and more to improve. When you lead with humility, you create space for others to shine, fostering trust and collaboration instead of competition and division. Consider this: the next time you're in a position to guide or influence others, ask yourself, am I coming from a place of humility, or am I letting ego take the wheel? Humility doesn't mean shrinking away from challenges or downplaying your strengths. It means using your power to uplift others, to listen deeply, and to lead with integrity. When you cultivate humility, you're not just building a stronger character, you're creating a presence that others naturally want to follow. And in a world that often celebrates self-promotion, that kind of quiet strength is truly remarkable. One of the most transformative practices in Stoicism is also one of the simplest: self-reflection. The Stoics believed that without introspection, we're simply drifting through life, reacting to events rather than shaping our character. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, famously wrote, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up if you will ever dig." This idea that true growth begins with looking inward wasn't just a philosophical musing. It was a daily discipline. For the Stoics, self-reflection was a tool for self-mastery, a way to examine their thoughts, actions, and motivations, and to align them with their values. Journaling was one of the most common methods the Stoics used for this practice. Marcus Aurelius himself kept a personal journal, now known as Meditations, where he recorded his thoughts, struggles, and reminders to stay grounded. These weren't grand proclamations or polished essays. They were raw, honest reflections on his own imperfections and aspirations. Through this practice, he wasn't just documenting his life, he was actively shaping it, turning each day into an opportunity for growth. Seneca, too, emphasized the power of reflection, urging his readers to retire into yourself as much as possible. He believed that by regularly examining our thoughts and actions, we could uncover patterns, correct mistakes, and cultivate a deeper understanding of ourselves. Take, for example, the story of Benjamin Franklin, one of America's founding fathers. Franklin wasn't a Stoic, but he shared their commitment to self-improvement. He kept a daily journal where he tracked his progress toward 13 virtues, such as temperance, humility, and industry. Each night he reflected on his behavior, asking himself, "What good have I done today?" This simple practice helped him identify areas for growth and stay accountable to his goals. Over time, this habit of reflection not only shaped his character but also influenced his legacy as a leader and innovator. So, how can you start incorporating self-reflection into your own life? It doesn't have to be complicated. Begin with just 5 minutes at the end of each day. Grab a notebook or open a blank document and ask yourself a few simple questions. What went well today? What could I have done differently? Did my actions align with my values? The key isn't to judge yourself harshly, but to observe and learn. Over time, this practice will help you spot patterns, recognize areas for improvement, and celebrate your progress. Self-reflection isn't just about identifying flaws, it's about creating a space for growth and self-awareness. It's about turning the mirror inward, not to criticize, but to understand and evolve. When you make reflection a daily habit, you're not just documenting your journey, you're actively shaping it. And as the Stoics knew, that's where true transformation begins. Imagine standing in the freezing cold of a Roman winter, shackled and enslaved, with no certainty of freedom or comfort. This was the reality for Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher who would later become one of history's most influential teachers. Despite his harsh circumstances, Epictetus didn't just endure, he transformed his suffering into wisdom. He famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This wasn't just a philosophical idea, it was a mindset he lived by, one that allowed him to build unshakable mental toughness even in the face of unimaginable adversity. For the Stoics, challenges weren't setbacks, they were opportunities to grow stronger, to forge resilience, and to cultivate a presence that could withstand anything. Mental toughness isn't something you're born with, it's something you build brick by brick through the trials you face. The Stoics believed that adversity is the gym for the soul. Just as lifting weights strengthens your muscles, facing challenges head-on strengthens your mind. Epictetus put it bluntly, if you want to be tough, you must endure. If you want to be strong, you must suffer. This might sound harsh, but the Stoics weren't advocating for unnecessary suffering. They were teaching us to reframe hardship as a teacher, one that pushes us to dig deeper, to find reserves of strength we didn't know we had. Consider the story of Malala Yousafzai, the young activist who survived a Taliban attack and went on to become a global advocate for education. Malala didn't let her trauma define her. Instead, she used it as fuel to fight for what she believed in. Her mental toughness wasn't just about surviving, it was about thriving, about turning pain into purpose. Like the Stoics, she understood that true strength isn't about avoiding hardship, but about finding meaning within it. Her story reminds us that mental toughness isn't just about enduring, it's about transforming. Now, let's bring this closer to home. What's one challenge you're facing right now, whether it's a personal struggle, a professional setback, or even a daily frustration? How can you use it as an opportunity to build mental toughness? Maybe it's committing to a difficult conversation you've been avoiding, pushing through a tough workout when you're exhausted, or simply choosing to stay calm in the face of criticism. The Stoics would challenge you to see these moments not as obstacles but as chances to grow. Every time you choose to endure, to persevere, and to rise above, you're not just strengthening your resolve, you're shaping a presence that's unshakable, no matter what life throws your way. What would you do if fear didn't hold you back? This question lies at the heart of the Stoic principle of courage, not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. The Stoics understood that fear is a natural part of life, but they also believed it shouldn't dictate our actions. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most eloquent voices, wrote, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." These words remind us that courage isn't about grand gestures or heroic feats. It's about facing the everyday challenges of life with resolve and determination, even when fear whispers in our ear. Courage in the Stoic sense isn't about eliminating fear. It's about recognizing fear for what it is, a signal, not a stop sign. Think of fear as a guard at the gate, standing between you and the life you want to live. The Stoics taught us to acknowledge that guard, but not to let it block our path. As Seneca put it, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Often, the fear of what might happen is far worse than the reality itself. When we act with courage, we're not ignoring fear, we're choosing to move forward in spite of it. Take the story of Rosa Parks, the civil rights icon who refused to give up her seat on a segregated bus in Montgomery, Alabama. Her act of defiance wasn't reckless, it was deliberate and deeply courageous. She knew the risks, but she also knew what was at stake: justice, equality, and the dignity of her community. Parks didn't wait for fear to disappear. She acted in spite of it, becoming a symbol of resilience and strength. Her story is a powerful reminder that courage isn't about being fearless. It's about being driven by something greater than fear. Now, let's bring this closer to home. What's one thing you've been putting off because fear is holding you back? Maybe it's starting a new project, having a difficult conversation, or stepping into a role that feels intimidating. The Stoics would challenge you to ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? And more importantly, what's the best? By shifting your focus from the risks to the potential rewards, you can begin to see fear not as a barrier but as a stepping stone. Courage is like a muscle, it grows stronger with use. Every time you choose to act despite fear, you're not just moving closer to your goals, you're building a presence that radiates confidence and determination. So the next time fear tries to hold you back, take a deep breath, remind yourself of what's at stake, and take that first step. Because when you act with courage, you're not just overcoming fear, you're unlocking the life you're meant to live. Time is your most precious resource. Unlike money, status, or possessions, it's the one thing you can never get back once it's gone. The Stoics understood this better than most. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, often reflected on the fleeting nature of life, writing, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." These words aren't meant to instill fear but to inspire urgency, a reminder that every moment is a gift, and how we choose to spend it defines the quality of our lives. For the Stoics, time wasn't just a measure of days and hours, it was the foundation of a meaningful existence. They believed that wasting time was the greatest form of self-betrayal, because every moment squandered is a moment you'll never reclaim. Seneca, another Stoic giant, put it bluntly, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." He argued that life is long enough if we use it well, but too many of us fritter it away on distractions, procrastination, or pursuits that don't align with our deeper values. Consider the story of Benjamin Franklin, a man who lived by the Stoic principle of valuing time. Franklin famously kept a detailed schedule, dividing his days into blocks dedicated to work, learning, and self-improvement. He even created a list of 13 virtues to guide his actions, one of which was industry, a commitment to using every moment productively. Franklin's disciplined approach to time allowed him to achieve extraordinary things, from inventing the lightning rod to shaping the founding principles of the United States. His life is a testament to the power of intentional living, where time isn't just spent, it's invested. Now, take a moment to reflect on your own life. How do you spend your days? Are your hours filled with purpose, or do they slip away unnoticed? The Stoics would challenge you to audit your time, to ask yourself, am I using this moment in a way that aligns with my values and goals? It's not about filling every second with activity. It's about ensuring that your time is spent on what truly matters. Whether it's pursuing a passion, nurturing a relationship, or simply savoring a quiet moment of reflection, the way you use your time shapes not just your days but your legacy. So, what's one small change you can make today to reclaim your time? Maybe it's setting aside your phone for an hour to focus on a meaningful task, or carving out time each day to connect with someone you care about. When you start treating time as the precious resource it is, you'll find that your days become richer, your purpose clearer, and your presence more commanding. Because in the end, it's not about how much time you have, it's about how you use it. Empathy is a bridge, a way to connect deeply with others, to understand their struggles, and to build relationships rooted in trust and respect. The Stoics, often seen as stern and detached, actually placed immense value on empathy. They believed that understanding others wasn't just a moral duty, it was a pathway to wisdom and a stronger presence. As Epictetus wisely said, when you meet anyone, remember to look within and ask, what are this person's guiding principles? What do they love, fear, or strive for? This wasn't just about being kind, it was about seeing the world through another's eyes, a practice that could transform how we lead, communicate, and relate to those around us. For the Stoics, empathy wasn't about agreeing with everyone or abandoning your principles. It was about recognizing the shared humanity in others, even when their actions or beliefs differed from your own. Marcus Aurelius, despite his role as emperor, often reminded himself to approach others with patience and understanding. He wrote, when someone does you wrong, ask yourself, what would make them act this way? What do they value and what do they fear? By seeking to understand rather than judge, he cultivated a presence that commanded respect not through authority but through compassion. Consider the example of Jacinda Ardern, the former Prime Minister of New Zealand. During times of national crisis, her ability to empathize with her citizens, whether it was after a devastating earthquake or a tragic terrorist attack, earned her global admiration. Ardern didn't just lead with policies, she led with heart. Her empathy wasn't a sign of weakness, it was a source of strength, uniting her people and inspiring trust in her leadership. Like the Stoics, she understood that true connection begins with seeing and valuing the humanity in others. So, how can you practice empathy in your own life? Start with the next conversation you have. Instead of waiting for your turn to speak, truly listen. Ask yourself, what is this person trying to express? What might they be feeling beneath their words? This kind of deep listening doesn't just foster connection, it builds a presence that others are drawn to. Empathy isn't about having all the answers, it's about being present, open, and willing to understand. And when you approach the world with that mindset, you're not just improving your relationships, you're becoming the kind of person who leads with both strength and heart. What do complaints achieve? When we vent our frustrations, it might feel like a release, but the Stoics saw complaining as a drain, not just on our energy, but on our ability to lead and inspire. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most practical philosophers, put it bluntly, we suffer more in imagination than in reality, and complaining only amplifies that suffering. His words remind us that complaining doesn't solve problems, it magnifies them, trapping us in cycles of negativity and helplessness. For the Stoics, the antidote to complaining wasn't silence, it was action. They believed that focusing on solutions rather than dwelling on problems was the key to building a presence that radiates strength and purpose. Consider the mindset of someone like Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx. Early in her career, Blakely faced countless rejections and setbacks. Instead of complaining about the challenges, she channeled her energy into finding solutions, even selling her products out of her car to get them into stores. Her relentless focus on what she could do rather than what she couldn't transformed her into a self-made billionaire. Blakely's story is a modern testament to the Stoic belief that complaining is a dead end, while action is a path to empowerment. When we shift our focus from problems to solutions, we not only improve our circumstances but also project a presence that's proactive and inspiring. Now think about your own life. What's one habit of complaining you could eliminate? Maybe it's venting about a difficult coworker, grumbling about traffic, or lamenting a missed opportunity. The Stoics would challenge you to ask yourself, what's within my control here? What's one small step I can take to improve the situation? By replacing complaints with action, you're not just solving problems, you're building a mindset that thrives on resilience and resourcefulness. And when others see you leading with that kind of energy, they'll naturally gravitate toward your presence because it's not just strong, it's solutions-oriented. So the next time you feel the urge to complain, pause, take a deep breath and ask yourself, what can I do instead? Whether it's setting a boundary, brainstorming a solution, or simply choosing to reframe the situation, that shift in focus can transform not just your day, but your entire outlook. Because when you stop complaining and start acting, you're not just changing the way you see the world, you're changing the way the world sees you. How often do you find yourself bending to fit the expectations of others? In a world that constantly demands approval, the Stoics offered a radical alternative: seek wisdom, not validation. They understood that chasing external validation is a losing game, one that leaves you feeling empty, disconnected, and constantly at the mercy of others' opinions. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, put it plainly, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." These words cut to the heart of a timeless truth. True strength and presence come from within, not from the fleeting approval of others. The Stoics believed that living a meaningful life requires setting your own standards, not borrowing them from the crowd. They taught that wisdom, not popularity, should be your compass. Wisdom, in this sense, isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about aligning your actions with your values, even when it's unpopular or uncomfortable. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one. This isn't about perfection. It's about integrity, about staying true to what you know is right, regardless of who's watching. Consider the story of Socrates, the ancient philosopher who refused to compromise his principles, even when it cost him his life. Accused of corrupting the youth and questioning the gods, Socrates was given a choice: recant his teachings and live, or stay true to his beliefs and face execution. He chose the latter, famously saying, "The unexamined life is not worth living." Socrates didn't seek approval or popularity. He sought truth and wisdom, even when it meant standing alone. His unwavering commitment to his principles didn't just define his legacy, it reshaped the course of philosophy and inspired generations to think critically and live authentically. Now let's bring this closer to home. When was the last time you made a decision based on what others might think, rather than what you truly believed? Maybe it was staying silent in a meeting to avoid rocking the boat, or agreeing to something that didn't sit right with you just to keep the peace. The Stoics would challenge you to ask yourself, am I living for others' approval, or am I living by my own standards? This isn't about ignoring feedback or isolating yourself. It's about building a foundation of self-respect and authenticity that guides your choices, no matter the pressure. So, here's a question to reflect on. What would it look like to prioritize wisdom over approval in your own life? Maybe it's speaking up when it's easier to stay quiet, or pursuing a path that aligns with your values, even if it's not the most popular one. When you shift your focus from seeking validation to cultivating wisdom, you're not just building a stronger sense of self, you're creating a presence that's grounded, confident, and truly your own. And in a world that's constantly demanding conformity, that kind of authenticity is a rare and powerful gift. How often do you catch yourself overcomplicating things? We've all been there, stuck in a mental loop, turning a simple problem into a labyrinth of stress and confusion. The Stoics had a solution for this, and it's as straightforward as it is powerful. Embrace simplicity in thought. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, put it this way: first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. In other words, strip away the noise, focus on the essence, and act with clarity. This principle isn't just about solving problems, it's about reclaiming your mental energy and redirecting it toward what truly matters. The Stoics believed that overthinking is a form of self-imposed chaos. It's not the problem itself that overwhelms us, it's the layers of worry, doubt, and second-guessing we pile on top of it. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to cut through the fog of thought and see things as they are, not as they appear in his mind. This practice of simplification isn't about ignoring complexity, it's about breaking it down into manageable, actionable steps. When we approach challenges with clear, rational thinking, we not only solve them more effectively but also project a presence that's calm and confident. Consider the story of Elon Musk, the entrepreneur known for tackling some of the world's most complex problems: space travel, electric vehicles, and renewable energy. Musk's approach to problem solving is deeply rooted in simplicity. He often uses a technique called first principles thinking, where he strips a problem down to its most basic elements and builds a solution from there. For example, when faced with the high cost of rocket production, he didn't accept the industry's standard practices. Instead, he broke the problem down, asking, what are rockets made of, and can we build them more efficiently? This clear, rational approach led to innovations that revolutionized space exploration. Musk's story is a modern example of how simplicity in thought can lead to groundbreaking results. So, how can you apply this principle to your own life? Start by identifying one complex issue you're currently facing, whether it's a career decision, a relationship challenge, or even a personal goal. Ask yourself, what's the core of this problem? What's the simplest, most direct way to address it? Often, the answer lies not in adding more steps but in removing unnecessary ones. By simplifying your thinking, you're not just solving problems, you're freeing up mental space to focus on what truly matters. The next time you feel overwhelmed, remember the Stoic practice of clear, rational thinking. Cut through the noise, focus on the essentials, and take action with confidence. Because when you embrace simplicity in thought, you're not just simplifying your life, you're amplifying your presence, projecting a clarity and calm that others can't help but admire. Leadership isn't just about making quick decisions or taking bold actions, it's also about the quiet strength of patience. The Stoics saw patience as more than just waiting. They viewed it as a virtue, a form of disciplined endurance that builds resilience and clarity. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most practical voices, wrote, "Time heals what reason cannot." These words remind us that some challenges can't be rushed or forced. They require us to trust the process, even when it feels frustratingly slow. For the Stoics, patience wasn't passive. It was an active choice to remain steady, composed, and focused on what truly matters. Consider the story of Nelson Mandela, a leader who embodied patience in its purest form. During his 27 years in prison, Mandela could have given in to bitterness or despair. Instead, he chose patience not as resignation but as a strategy. He used those years to reflect, to learn, and to prepare himself for the role he would eventually play in uniting a nation. His ability to endure delays and setbacks without losing sight of his purpose wasn't just a testament to his character, it was a key factor in his ultimate success. Mandela's story shows us that patience isn't about sitting back and waiting. It's about staying committed to your vision, even when the path is long and uncertain. Now, let's bring this closer to home. Think about an area in your own life where patience might be the missing ingredient. Maybe it's a project at work that's taking longer than expected, a personal goal that feels out of reach, or even a relationship that needs time to heal. The Stoics would challenge you to ask yourself, what's the value in rushing? Could slowing down, even just a little, bring more clarity or better results? Patience isn't about giving up. It's about giving yourself the space to grow, to adapt, and to see the bigger picture. So, the next time you feel the urge to push harder or move faster, pause. Take a deep breath and remind yourself that some things can't be forced, they can only be nurtured. By practicing patience, you're not just building resilience, you're cultivating a presence that's calm, steady, and deeply grounded. And in a world that's always rushing, that kind of presence stands out as both rare and powerful. Indecision weakens presence. It's a truth the Stoics understood deeply, and one that resonates just as powerfully today. When we waver, when we let uncertainty paralyze us, we not only lose momentum, we project hesitation, doubt, and a lack of confidence. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, put it plainly: waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. In other words, stop overthinking and start acting. For the Stoics, decisiveness wasn't just a trait, it was a practice, a way of aligning your actions with your values and moving forward with clarity and purpose. Think about the leaders who inspire us most. What sets them apart isn't just their vision or intelligence, it's their ability to make tough decisions and stand by them. Take someone like Angela Merkel, the former Chancellor of Germany. During her tenure, Merkel faced numerous crises, from the European financial meltdown to the refugee influx. In each case, she didn't hesitate or seek endless consensus. She assessed the situation, made a decision, and acted. Her decisiveness didn't just resolve challenges, it earned her respect and trust on a global scale. Merkel's leadership reminds us that decisiveness isn't about being perfect, it's about being clear, confident, and committed. Now, let's bring this closer to home. What's one decision you've been avoiding? Maybe it's a career move, a difficult conversation, or even a personal goal you've been putting off. The Stoics would challenge you to ask yourself, what's the cost of indecision? Every moment you delay, you're not just stalling, you're weakening your presence and your ability to lead. Decisiveness isn't about rushing into choices without thought. It's about gathering the information you need, trusting your judgment, and then taking the next step. So take a moment to reflect. What's holding you back from making that decision? Is it fear of failure, fear of judgment, or simply the discomfort of uncertainty? Whatever it is, remember this: every great leader, every person who's ever made an impact faced those same fears. They didn't wait for certainty, they created it by acting. By embracing decisiveness, you're not just moving forward, you're building a presence that radiates confidence, clarity, and strength. And in a world that's often paralyzed by indecision, that kind of presence is truly transformative. How much do you depend on others? It's a question worth asking, because the Stoics believed that self-reliance isn't just a skill, it's a cornerstone of a strong, commanding presence. Epictetus, the philosopher who rose from slavery to become one of history's most influential teachers, put it this way: no man is free who is not master of himself. These words remind us that true freedom and true strength comes from the ability to stand on your own 2 feet, to take responsibility for your life, and to trust in your own capacity to navigate challenges. Self-reliance in the Stoic sense isn't about rejecting help or isolating yourself. It's about cultivating the inner resources to handle whatever life throws your way. Think about someone like Amelia Earhart, the pioneering aviator who broke barriers and shattered expectations. Earhart didn't wait for permission or validation to pursue her dreams. She relied on her own courage, determination, and skill to achieve what many thought was impossible. Her independence wasn't just about flying planes, it was about proving that self-reliance could unlock extraordinary potential. Earhart's story is a powerful reminder that when we take ownership of our lives, we're not just surviving, we're thriving. Now, let's bring this closer to home. What's one area of your life where you could take more responsibility? Maybe it's your career, your health, or even your mindset. The Stoics would challenge you to ask yourself, am I waiting for someone else to solve this, or am I stepping up to take control? Self-reliance doesn't mean you have to do everything alone. It means you're willing to take the lead, to make decisions, and to own the outcomes. It's about shifting from a mindset of dependence to one of empowerment. So, here's a challenge for you. Choose one area where you've been leaning on others and start taking small steps toward greater independence. Maybe it's learning a new skill, setting a personal goal, or simply making decisions without seeking approval. Each step you take builds not just your confidence but also your presence, a presence that says, I've got this. Because when you cultivate self-reliance, you're not just taking charge of your life, you're showing the world that you're someone who can be counted on, no matter circumstances. Generosity is more than just an act, it's a reflection of inner strength. The Stoics saw giving not as a duty, but as an opportunity to connect with others and embody the virtues they held dear. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most eloquent voices, wrote, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness." These words remind us that generosity isn't about grand gestures or material wealth. It's about the willingness to uplift others, to share what we have, and to find joy in the act of giving itself. For the Stoics, generosity wasn't a sign of weakness, it was a profound expression of strength and humanity. Think about the example of Bill Gates, whose philanthropic efforts have transformed millions of lives. Through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, he's dedicated his wealth and influence to solving some of the world's most pressing challenges, from eradicating diseases to improving education. Gates didn't wait for others to act, he took the initiative, demonstrating that true strength lies in using your resources to make a difference. His generosity isn't just about giving money, it's about giving hope, opportunity, and a better future. Like the Stoics, Gates understands that the act of giving enriches not just the receiver, but the giver as well. Generosity, in the Stoic sense, isn't limited to material gifts. It's about offering your time, your attention, and your compassion. It's about seeing the humanity in others and responding with an open heart. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to treat others as you would like to be treated, a principle that underscores the importance of empathy and kindness in every interaction. When we give freely, we're not just helping others, we're cultivating a mindset of abundance, one that allows us to see the world as a place of possibility rather than scarcity. So, let's take a moment to reflect. How can you practice generosity in your own life? It doesn't have to be grand or costly. It could be as simple as offering a listening ear, mentoring someone in need, or volunteering your time for a cause you care about. The Stoics would challenge you to ask yourself, what can I give today that might make someone's life a little brighter? By embracing generosity, you're not just making a difference in the lives of others, you're building a presence that radiates kindness, strength, and purpose. And in a world that often feels divided, that kind of presence is a beacon of hope. What does gossip reveal about us? At its core, gossip isn't just about sharing information. It's often a reflection of our own insecurities, judgments, or need for validation. The Stoics, with their sharp focus on self-awareness and virtue, saw gossip as a distraction from what truly matters, cultivating inner strength and integrity. Marcus Aurelius, ever the practical philosopher, warned against the pitfalls of idle talk, writing, "What injures the hive injures the bee." In other words, spreading rumors or indulging in petty chatter doesn't just harm others, it weakens our own character and diminishes our presence. For the Stoics, avoiding gossip wasn't just about being polite, it was about safeguarding our moral compass and fostering a mindset of respect and dignity. Consider the example of Oprah Winfrey, a figure known for her ability to command respect and inspire millions. Throughout her career, Oprah has consistently chosen to avoid gossip, even in the high-pressure world of media and entertainment. Instead, she focuses on meaningful conversations, elevating others, and addressing topics that matter. Her refusal to engage in idle talk hasn't just earned her trust and admiration, it's solidified her reputation as a leader who values substance over superficiality. Oprah's approach is a modern embodiment of the Stoic principle that true presence comes from how we uplift others, not how we tear them down. Now, take a moment to reflect on your own speech habits. Do you find yourself drawn to gossip, even unintentionally? It's easy to fall into the trap of idle chatter, especially when it feels like harmless fun or a way to bond with others. But the Stoics would challenge you to ask, what's the cost of that conversation? Every time we engage in gossip, we're not just spreading negativity, we're reinforcing a mindset that prioritizes judgment over understanding, division over connection. By choosing to rise above gossip, we're not just improving our relationships, we're building a presence that radiates integrity and respect. So, the next time you're tempted to share a piece of gossip, pause. Ask yourself, is this necessary? Is it kind? Does it align with the person I want to be? When you make the conscious choice to avoid idle talk, you're not just improving your own character, you're setting a standard for how others engage with you. And in a world where words can build or break, that kind of presence is truly powerful. Delusion is a dangerous place to live. It's easy to get lost in fantasies, wishful thinking, or even outright denial. But the Stoics knew that true strength comes from seeing the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher who rose from slavery to become one of history's most influential teachers, put it bluntly, it's not what happens to you, but how you interpret it that matters. In other words, the sooner we face reality, the sooner we can act with clarity and purpose. The Stoics believed that delusion doesn't protect us, it weakens us, leaving us unprepared for life's inevitable challenges. Realism, in the Stoic sense, isn't about pessimism or cynicism. It's about grounding yourself in truth, no matter how uncomfortable that truth might be. Think of it like this: if you're navigating a storm, you need an accurate map, not one that shows sunny skies when the winds are howling. The Stoics used this principle to build resilience, teaching that only by accepting reality can we respond effectively to it. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to look at things as they are, not as his fears or desires painted them. This commitment to truth allowed him to lead with wisdom, even in the most turbulent times. Consider the story of Ray Dalio, the billionaire investor and founder of Bridgewater Associates. Dalio built his success on a principle he calls radical transparency, a commitment to facing uncomfortable truths head-on, both in his business and personal life. When his company nearly collapsed during the financial crisis of the early 1980s, Dalio didn't sugarcoat the situation. He confronted the reality of his mistakes, learned from them, and rebuilt his company into one of the most successful hedge funds in history. His story is a modern example of how embracing reality, even when it hurts, can lead to extraordinary growth and success. So, what's one uncomfortable truth you've been avoiding? Maybe it's a habit that's holding you back, a relationship that's no longer serving you, or a goal that's not as realistic as you'd like to believe. The Stoics would challenge you to ask yourself, what's the cost of ignoring this truth? By confronting it, you're not just facing a difficult reality, you're taking the first step toward meaningful change. Because when you stay grounded in reality, you're not just surviving, you're thriving with a presence that's clear, confident, and unshakable. What does holding on to anger cost you? If you're honest, the answer might surprise you. Anger, resentment, grudges, they're heavy. They weigh us down, drain our energy, and keep us tethered to the past. The Stoics saw forgiveness not as a favor to others, but as a gift to ourselves. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most insightful voices, put it this way: anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it. In other words, when we cling to anger, we're not punishing the person who wronged us, we're punishing ourselves. Forgiveness, then, becomes a form of self-liberation, a way to untether ourselves from the chains of bitterness and reclaim our peace. The Stoic approach to forgiveness isn't about excusing harmful behavior or pretending everything is fine. It's about recognizing that holding onto anger only amplifies our suffering. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, often reminded himself to choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. This mindset shifts the power back to us. When we forgive, we're not saying what happened was okay. We're saying we won't let it control us anymore. Forgiveness is a choice, a deliberate act of reclaiming our emotional freedom. Consider the story of Nelson Mandela, a man who spent 27 years in prison under an oppressive regime. When he was finally released, he didn't emerge with bitterness or a desire for revenge. Instead, he forgave his captors and worked tirelessly to bring reconciliation to a divided nation. Mandela understood that forgiveness wasn't about forgetting or condoning. It was about breaking the cycle of anger and creating space for healing. His ability to forgive didn't just transform his own life, it transformed an entire country. Mandela's story is a powerful reminder that forgiveness isn't weakness. It's one of the most courageous acts of strength we can undertake. So let's bring this closer to home. Is there someone in your life you need to forgive? Maybe it's a friend who betrayed you, a family member who hurt you, or even yourself for a past mistake. The Stoics would challenge you to ask, what's the cost of holding onto this anger? What peace could you find if you chose to let it go? Forgiveness doesn't mean you have to reconcile or forget. It simply means you're choosing to free yourself from the weight of resentment. By practicing forgiveness, you're not just healing old wounds, you're building a presence that radiates strength, compassion, and inner peace. And in a world that often feels divided, that kind of presence is a rare and powerful gift. Rigidity breaks, flexibility endures. This simple yet profound truth lies at the heart of the Stoic principle of adaptability. In a world that's constantly shifting, the ability to bend without breaking isn't just a survival skill, it's a superpower. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, often reflected on this idea, writing, "The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing, because an artful life requires being prepared to meet and withstand sudden and unexpected attacks." His words remind us that life isn't about controlling every detail, but about learning to flow with circumstances, to adapt with grace and resilience. The Stoics saw adaptability as a form of strength, not weakness. It's about recognizing that change is inevitable and responding with openness rather than resistance. Think of a tree in a storm. Rigid branches snap, while flexible ones bend and survive. This principle applies just as much to our lives as it does to nature. When we cling too tightly to plans, expectations, or outcomes, we set ourselves up for frustration and disappointment. But when we embrace adaptability, we create space for growth, creativity, and unexpected opportunities. Take the example of Reed Hastings, the co-founder of Netflix. When Netflix began as a DVD rental service, Hastings could have stuck to that model, even as technology and consumer preferences evolved. Instead, he embraced adaptability, shifting the company's focus to streaming and eventually to producing original content. That willingness to pivot not only saved Netflix from obsolescence but turned it into a global powerhouse. Hastings' story is a modern testament to the Stoic belief that adaptability isn't just about surviving change, it's about thriving because of it. Now, let's bring this closer to home. What's one area of your life where you could practice more adaptability? Maybe it's your career, where unexpected challenges or opportunities are calling for a shift in approach. Perhaps it's a relationship that requires more flexibility and understanding, or it could be something as simple as your daily routine, where a little openness to change could bring more balance and ease. The Stoics would challenge you to ask yourself, where am I holding on too tightly? What might happen if I allowed myself to bend instead of break? Adaptability isn't about abandoning your values or goals. It's about finding new ways to pursue them in the face of change. It's about staying grounded in your principles while remaining open to the twists and turns of life. When you cultivate adaptability, you're not just preparing for the unexpected. You're building a presence that's resilient, resourceful, and ready for anything. So, where will you start? What's one small step you can take today to embrace the power of flexibility in your own life? What truly defines a meaningful life? Is it wealth, fame, or the number of accomplishments we rack up? The Stoics would argue that none of these hold a candle to virtue. For them, virtue wasn't just a lofty ideal, it was the highest good, the foundation of a life well lived. Epictetus, the philosopher who rose from slavery to become one of Stoicism's greatest teachers, put it this way: wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. These words cut to the heart of Stoic philosophy. True richness lies not in external success, but in the integrity of your character, the strength of your principles, and the way you treat others. The Stoics believed that a life centered on virtue is a life of freedom. When we prioritize character over achievements, we free ourselves from the endless chase for external validation. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, often reminded himself that his legacy wouldn't be measured by his conquests or his wealth, but by the quality of his character. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." This isn't about perfection, it's about progress, about aligning your actions with your values, even when no one is watching. Virtue, in this sense, becomes a compass, guiding us through life's challenges with clarity and purpose. Consider the story of Mahatma Gandhi, a man who prioritized virtue above all else. Gandhi didn't measure his success by political victories or material gains. He measured it by his commitment to truth, nonviolence, and justice. His unwavering focus on these principles not only transformed a nation, but also inspired millions around the world. Gandhi's life is a powerful reminder that true greatness isn't about what you achieve, it's about who you become in the process. His legacy endures not because of his accomplishments, but because of the depth of his character. Now, let's bring this closer to home. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. What do you value most, external success or inner virtue? It's easy to get caught up in the pursuit of recognition, promotions, or social status, but the Stoics would challenge you to ask, at what cost? When we prioritize virtue, we're not just improving ourselves, we're creating a ripple effect that touches everyone around us. Each act of kindness, each moment of integrity, each decision to do the right thing, even when it's hard, builds a legacy that outlasts any trophy or title. So, here's a question to ponder. What would it look like to prioritize virtue over success in your own life? Maybe it's choosing honesty over convenience, standing up for what's right even when it's unpopular, or simply treating others with respect and compassion. When you make virtue your guiding star, you're not just living a meaningful life, you're creating a presence that inspires others to do the same. And in a world that often celebrates achievements over character, that kind of presence is truly extraordinary. Have you ever been in a conversation where you could tell the other person wasn't really listening? Maybe they were nodding along, but their eyes were glazed over, or they were already forming their response before you finished speaking. Now flip the script. Imagine being on the other side. When someone truly listens to you, it's more than just hearing words. It's a profound act of respect and connection. This is the essence of mindful listening, a principle the Stoics held in high regard. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most insightful voices, once said, "The first duty of a person is to listen." For the Stoics, listening wasn't just a passive act, it was an active practice of presence, empathy, and humility. Mindful listening is about more than just hearing words, it's about understanding the person behind them. It's about setting aside your own thoughts, judgments, and distractions to fully engage with another's perspective. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to listen with the intent to understand, not to reply. This simple shift from waiting for your turn to speak to truly absorbing what's being said can transform not only your conversations but also your relationships. When you listen mindfully, you're not just gathering information, you're building trust, fostering connection, and showing that you value the other person's voice. Consider the example of Jacinda Ardern, the former Prime Minister of New Zealand. Ardern is widely admired for her ability to listen deeply, whether she's speaking with world leaders or everyday citizens. During times of crisis, such as the Christchurch mosque shootings, her attentive listening and empathetic responses became a cornerstone of her leadership. Ardern didn't just hear the pain of her people, she felt it, responded to it, and acted on it. Her example shows us that mindful listening isn't just a personal virtue. It's a leadership superpower, one that builds bridges and inspires trust. So, how can you bring this principle into your own life? Start with your next conversation. Whether it's a chat with a colleague, a friend, or even a stranger, make a conscious effort to listen fully. Put away distractions, maintain eye contact, and resist the urge to interrupt or plan your response. Instead, focus on what the other person is saying, and more importantly, what they're feeling. This small act of presence can have a ripple effect, transforming not just the conversation but the way others perceive and connect with you. The Stoics knew that true wisdom begins with listening. By practicing mindful listening, you're not just improving your communication skills, you're cultivating a presence that's grounded, empathetic, and deeply respectful. And in a world that's often too loud and too fast, that kind of presence is a rare and powerful gift. What does moderation look like in your life? It's a question worth asking because in a world that often glorifies extremes, the Stoics offered a radically different perspective. Moderation isn't just a virtue, it's a path to freedom. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, put it plainly, very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. These words cut to the heart of Stoic philosophy. Excess doesn't enrich us, it enslaves us. Whether it's overindulgence in food, material possessions, or even work, the Stoics saw excess as a distraction from what truly matters, inner peace and self-mastery. The Stoics weren't ascetics, they didn't advocate for a life of deprivation. Instead, they believed in balance, a middle ground where we enjoy life's pleasures without being controlled by them. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most practical voices, warned against the dangers of excess, writing, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." In other words, true wealth isn't about accumulating more, it's about needing less. This principle applies not just to material possessions, but to emotions, ambitions, and even relationships. When we avoid excess, we create space for clarity, focus, and a deeper sense of contentment. Take the example of Warren Buffett, one of the world's most successful investors. Despite his immense wealth, Buffett lives a remarkably modest life. He still resides in the same house he bought decades ago, drives a modest car, and avoids the trappings of luxury. His lifestyle isn't about self-denial. It's about prioritizing what matters most: time, relationships, and meaningful work. Buffett's approach to life is a modern echo of the Stoic principle that moderation isn't about restriction, it's about liberation. By avoiding excess, he's freed himself from the distractions and pressures that often accompany wealth, allowing him to focus on what truly brings him joy and fulfillment. Now, let's bring this closer to home. What's one area of your life where excess might be holding you back? Maybe it's overcommitting to projects, overspending on unnecessary items, or even overindulging in distractions like social media. The Stoics would challenge you to ask yourself, what's the cost of this excess? What could I gain by embracing moderation? Start small. Identify one habit or behavior where you can practice restraint, whether it's saying no to an extra commitment, setting limits on screen time, or simply savoring a meal without overeating. Each step you take toward moderation is a step toward greater freedom and clarity. Moderation isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about recognizing that true abundance comes not from having more, but from needing less. By embracing this principle, you're not just simplifying your life, you're building a presence that radiates calm, focus, and intentionality. And in a world that's often driven by excess, that kind of presence is truly transformative. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast ocean, knowing that no matter how far you swim, there will always be more to explore. This is the essence of a growth mindset, a belief that our abilities, intelligence, and character are not fixed, but can be developed through effort, learning, and resilience. The Stoics, with their unwavering commitment to self-improvement, understood this deeply. They saw life not as a destination, but as a journey of continuous growth. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher who rose from slavery to become one of history's most influential teachers, put it this way: no great thing is created suddenly, any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig. If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen. In other words, growth takes time, patience, and deliberate effort, but the rewards are worth it. The Stoics believed that challenges are not obstacles to be avoided, but opportunities to grow. They taught that every difficulty, every setback, is a chance to strengthen our character and expand our capabilities. This mindset of seeing struggle as a teacher rather than an enemy is what sets apart those who thrive from those who merely survive. Consider the story of Malala Yousafzai, the young activist who survived a Taliban attack and went on to become a global advocate for education. Malala didn't let her trauma define her. Instead, she used it as fuel to fight for what she believed in. Her ability to grow through adversity, to turn pain into purpose, is a modern testament to the Stoic principle that challenges are not the end of the road, they're the beginning of something greater. Now, let's bring this closer to home. What's one area of your life where you could embrace a growth mindset? Maybe it's a skill you've been hesitant to learn, a project you've been putting off, or even a personal habit you'd like to change. The Stoics would challenge you to ask yourself, what's holding me back? Is it fear of failure, fear of judgment, or simply the discomfort of stepping into the unknown? By reframing challenges as opportunities, you're not just building resilience, you're unlocking a mindset that sees every obstacle as a stepping stone to growth. So here's an invitation. Choose one area where you've been stuck and commit to approaching it with curiosity and determination. Maybe it's learning a new language, improving your fitness, or even working on your emotional intelligence. Remember, growth doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, one that requires patience, persistence, and a willingness to embrace discomfort. But with each step forward, you're not just improving your skills, you're cultivating a presence that radiates confidence, adaptability, and a deep belief in your own potential. After all, as the Stoics knew, the greatest growth often comes from the hardest challenges. How do you handle criticism? It's a question that can make even the most confident among us pause. For the Stoics, criticism wasn't something to fear or avoid, it was an opportunity to grow. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most insightful voices, wrote, "The wise man learns more from his enemies than the fool does from his friends." These words remind us that feedback, even when it's harsh or unwelcome, can be a powerful tool for self-improvement. The Stoics believed that graciousness in the face of criticism isn't just a sign of maturity, it's a mark of true strength. Graciousness in the Stoic sense isn't about agreeing with every critique or suppressing your own perspective. It's about listening openly, reflecting honestly, and responding with humility. Imagine someone pointing out a flaw in your work. The instinctive reaction might be defensiveness or frustration, but what if instead you paused and asked yourself, is there truth in this? Can I use this to improve? This shift in mindset transforms criticism from an attack into a gift, a chance to see yourself more clearly and grow in ways you might not have considered. Consider the story of Oprah Winfrey, who faced relentless criticism and doubt throughout her career. Early on, she was told she wasn't fit for television, but instead of letting those words define her, she used them as fuel to refine her craft and prove her critics wrong. Oprah's ability to respond to criticism with grace and determination didn't just help her succeed, it solidified her legacy as a leader who values growth over ego. Her story is a testament to the power of graciousness, showing us that how we handle feedback can shape not just our careers but our character. Now, take a moment to reflect on your own approach to criticism. Do you tend to shut down, get defensive, or take it personally? Or do you see it as an opportunity to learn and grow? The Stoics would challenge you to ask yourself, what's the cost of resisting feedback? And what might I gain by embracing it with an open mind? Practicing graciousness isn't about being perfect, it's about being willing to listen, to reflect, and to grow. Because when you respond to criticism with grace, you're not just improving yourself, you're projecting a presence that's confident, humble, and deeply grounded. Consistency builds trust. It's a simple truth, but one that holds immense power in how others perceive us and how we perceive ourselves. The Stoics understood this deeply. They saw consistency not as a rigid routine, but as a reflection of inner stability and commitment. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, often reminded himself of this in his private writings, saying, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." In other words, it's not enough to know what's right. True strength lies in consistently acting on it, day after day, no matter the circumstances. Think about the people in your life who inspire confidence and respect. Chances are they're the ones who show up reliably, who follow through on their promises, and who act with integrity even when it's inconvenient. Consistency isn't about perfection. It's about showing up again and again, even when it's hard. Take someone like Michelle Obama, for example. Throughout her public life, she's been a model of consistency, whether it's her commitment to health and wellness initiatives, her advocacy for education, or her ability to remain composed and authentic under intense scrutiny. Her steady, unwavering presence has earned her not just admiration but deep trust from people around the world. Now, let's bring this closer to home. What's one habit or commitment you've been inconsistent with lately? Maybe it's a fitness goal, a creative project, or even something as simple as setting aside time for reflection. The Stoics would challenge you to ask yourself, what's the cost of inconsistency? Every time we start something and abandon it, we're not just losing progress, we're eroding trust in ourselves. But when we commit to showing up consistently, even in small ways, we're building a foundation of reliability and strength that others can't help but notice. So here's an invitation. Choose one habit, just one, that you can commit to consistently over the next month. It doesn't have to be grand or life-changing. It could be as simple as reading for 10 minutes a day, meditating for 5, or writing down 3 things you're grateful for each night. The key isn't the size of the habit, it's the steadiness of your effort. Because when you show up consistently, you're not just building a habit, you're building a presence that radiates trust, reliability, and quiet strength. And in a world that's often unpredictable, that kind of presence is truly invaluable. What will you be remembered for? It's a question that cuts to the core of what it means to live a meaningful life. The Stoics believed that our time here is fleeting, and what truly matters isn't the wealth we accumulate or the titles we hold, but the impact we leave behind. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher who rose from slavery to become one of history's most influential teachers, put it this way: wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. These words remind us that a meaningful legacy isn't built on material success, it's built on the values we live by, the people we uplift, and the example we set for others. The Stoics taught that our actions ripple far beyond our own lives. Every decision we make, every interaction we have, contributes to the legacy we're building. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, often reflected on this in his private writings, reminding himself, "What we do now echoes in eternity." This isn't about striving for perfection or immortality. It's about living with intention, knowing that even the smallest acts of kindness, integrity, and courage can have a lasting impact. Consider the legacy of someone like Fred Rogers, the beloved host of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Rogers didn't set out to become famous or wealthy, he set out to make a difference. Through his gentle, compassionate approach, he taught generations of children the value of kindness, empathy, and self-worth. His legacy isn't measured in awards or accolades, but in the countless lives he touched and the enduring lessons he left behind. Rogers' life is a testament to the Stoic belief that true greatness lies not in what we achieve, but in how we make others feel. So take a moment to reflect. How do you want to be remembered? Is it through the relationships you've nurtured, the values you've upheld, or the positive change you've inspired? The Stoics would challenge you to live each day with this question in mind, not as a burden, but as a guide. When you align your actions with the legacy you want to leave, you're not just shaping your own story, you're contributing to a world that's kinder, stronger, and more connected. Because in the end, it's not the length of our lives that matters, but the depth of our impact. Throughout this journey, we've explored 38 uncompromising Stoic principles, each one a stepping stone toward building a commanding presence. From mastering your emotions and focusing on what you can control, to cultivating inner silence and embracing impermanence, these principles aren't just ancient wisdom, they're timeless tools for personal growth. Together, they form a blueprint for living with purpose, resilience, and authenticity. The Stoics didn't just teach these ideas, they lived them, proving that no matter the circumstances, we have the power to shape our character and influence the world around us. What makes Stoicism so powerful is its practicality. It's not about lofty ideals or abstract philosophies. It's about actionable steps we can take every day to strengthen our minds, deepen our presence, and navigate life's challenges with grace. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, captured this beautifully when he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." These words remind us that the key to a commanding presence lies not in controlling the world, but in mastering ourselves. As we wrap up, let's take a moment to reflect. Which of these principles resonates most with you? Is it the practice of emotional mastery, the discipline of focusing on what's within your control, or perhaps the quiet strength of inner silence? Each principle is a gateway to growth, and the journey begins with a single step. So, here's a question to carry with you. Which principle will you start practicing today? The beauty of Stoicism is that it's not a one-size-fits-all philosophy. It's a personal journey, a daily practice of becoming the best version of yourself. Whether you're just beginning to explore these ideas or you've been walking this path for years, there's always room to grow, to reflect, and to improve. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What principle speaks to you, and how do you plan to apply it in your life? Let's learn from each other and build a community of growth and resilience. If you found this exploration of Stoic principles valuable, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more insights on living a purposeful Stoic life. Together, let's continue to uncover the timeless wisdom that helps us navigate the complexities of the modern world with clarity, strength, and presence. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Until next time, stay grounded, stay intentional, and keep building the presence that the world can't help but